All right, this is Tasha here from Funnel Breezy, and today we're going to go ahead and learn how to create a coaching application form from scratch inside of Funnel Breezy / GoHighLevel. So there's a few things we're going to do from a setup perspective before we actually go and build the form, and this is going to help you just to be so much more successful and help your workflows be so much faster in the end. First thing we're going to go ahead and do is from your dashboard inside of Funnel Breezy, you're going to go head over to settings, and then you're going to scroll down and you're going to head over to custom fields. Next up, you're going to go to add folder, and we're going to call this folder, if you have a name of the coaching program, you can do that. If you have several different application forms that you might need for whether it's a group program, a one-on-one coaching program, I would call those. Don't just have one giant one for coaching. So coaching name application form. And this obviously would be the name of the program or the name of the one-on-one coaching service that you offer. And you're going to save. Next up, you're going to go over to folders. And you're going to select this one right here. And you go ahead and add in some new fields. So other than the generic first name, last name, email, phone number, those types of things that are already kind of pre-created form options, what we're going to do is go and create any of the fields that are specific to you needing information to vet potential clients in the application process. So I've gone ahead inside of just a Google form and I've just put together, these are just 6 simple questions that we can go ahead and ask. You might have 10, you might have 20, you might have 3. Whatever the case is, anything above and beyond the typical first name, last name, email, and phone number, we can go ahead and just kind of copy and paste these from here. So I'm going to go and copy the very first question. In this case, what is your primary business focus? I'm assuming that this person's maybe a mindset coach for female entrepreneurs. So I'm going to command click or command click on a Mac to copy, and or command C, and on a PC it's just control C, which is what I'm using here. So control C to copy, going back over into Funnel Breezy. In this case, this is a multi-line, right? A single line would be if you just needed like a yes or no, or what is your website? That type of answer. You could do a single line. In most case for a coaching application, when you want them to be able to elaborate on the answer, you're going to go ahead and use multi-line. So we can go to next. And the field name is going to be whatever the question is. So you can paste that in here. You can leave that under contact because that's correct. The group is going to be under the whatever the coaching name application form is. That's where we want. We don't need to fill a placeholder or pre-fill a value. So go ahead and select save. There's your first question. We're going to go ahead and add in the next one. So I can go back over to my Google Doc, copy the second question, go back over to Funnel Breezy. It's going to be multi-line again. And I'm going to paste that in the name. Everything else stays the same, and save. Okay, so here are I'm just going to add these ones in very quickly. And then I'm going to show you how to do one that's slightly different. Again, add field, multi-line, next, paste it in. And I'll show you why obviously this is important to do it this way from the beginning so you can see it really nice and organized. Okay, so all of the multi-line, I did that one already, oopsie. All of the multi-line questions have been added. So instead, let's just go back. In this case, I want to do a radio select, which is just going to mean I want them to pick one of the 3 options that I provide. You could do a drop-down single, drop-down multiple, a checkbox. In this case, this will be a radio select, so I want them to have to pick one. So in this case, the question is, how much are you currently willing to spend on mindset coaching? This is a high ticket offer. This is going to be, maybe not phrased exactly this way, but it's going to be an important question for you so you can properly vet clients before you hop on to a call with them. So the question is how much you're willing to spend on mindset coaching. Option 1 is going to be what I have here, which is, oh, and I just minimized that. Question 1 is going to be under 1,000. Our answer number 1 is going to be under 1,000. So under 1,000 goes right here. I'm going to add an option. I'm going to do the second one, which is 3,000 to 5,000. And I'm going to add a third option as I have here, 5,000 to 10,000. All right, so here are the 3 radio select options as I have, and I can go ahead and select save. So all of the questions that I added are here. It will tell you the type, large text, large text, large text, and radio. And now we're gonna go ahead and go back to our dashboard, go to Sites, go to Forms and Builder, and we're going to create a form from scratch. Okay, so in this case, we're going to call this whatever the coaching program is, so coaching application form. You want to be able to label these and find these really nice and easily, right? Okay, so you can just hit save on this if you want, just so that way the name is there. Going over right away to just the styling piece of it. If we scroll down, there are a few things we can select. Most often, single column will work perfectly fine. You can change the width, but 650 is a decent sized width that you can use. And it's up to you here if you want to show label or not. If you are doing a very simple like freebie form where it's just like name and email, I would probably hide the label and just have the placeholder text have first name and email. Because we are going and asking long form questions where we want answers, I'm going to leave the label there. Going to colors and background, we can go ahead and select an image that's going to go at the top here. So I'm going to go and select either a header image that you have, maybe it's just your logo. Oh, I'm sorry, I selected the wrong one. Header image is going to be this one here. And then if you wanted an image in the background, you could go ahead and select that right here where I just did by accident. In this case, I'm going to go and make the, oh no, wrong one. I'm going to go and select the background image, and I'm just going to put a nice big image in the background. Let's do this one here. You could not have an image if you wanted. You could just have a color instead. This image is actually, the way it's pulling in is looking funny, but that's besides the point. You could pick any image you want for the background. Moving on to the form itself. I am going to open up the brand board. I'm going to make the background of the form just that very light cream color that's part of this branding. I'm going to copy in that hex code, and I'm going to paste it in the background here. So you can tell that nice cream color populated. I can hit save if I want. I like to just do that periodically. And then coming down to advanced settings, this is going to give you the option for just all of the styling of the form in general. I'm going to remove the corners. See how these corners are rounded here? I'm going to remove that. So it's, actually that's up here in the square. And then if I go down to the input field, this is where the corner radius is here. So I can make that a lot more round, or I can make it more square. If I were to do 50, it would make these completely rounded. If I were to do 0, it makes them completely square. I, for whatever reason, have a preference for squared input boxes. It's completely up to you. Now you'll notice the first name, last name is really stuck to the left side here, which doesn't look so good. So under padding, we're just gonna go and add some padding to move that off because we don't want that stuck. That doesn't look very good. Next up, I don't really like the border color on here. I don't really want a border color at all. So in this case, I'm gonna go and select either white, so you can't see it, and or I could have selected added the hex code that was the same color as the background color if I wanted to. Okay, overall, the styling is pretty decent. The only other thing I kind of like to do personally is where it says placeholder. If you're going to use placeholder text, in this case, we're not going to. I'm going to remove it when we look at the fields. But if you were going to use the placeholder text, I would bring this down to be a much darker color so it's a lot easier for people to see. And then I would probably also make this a little bit bigger as well, so 14. So it was standing out. There was no question and people weren't confused in what they were supposed to enter in the box. In our case, we're actually going to remove the placeholder, so it doesn't really matter, but just so you know when you're creating other types of forms. Now that we have the overall style pretty decent other than the button color, let's exit out of here and come down and click on the button. One, we want to change the background color, and two, I don't really like where it just says button. So I'm going to click where it says button up here under text, and I'm just going to type in submit application or whatever it is that you want it to say here. And then in terms of the color, I'm just going to go ahead and select the button color here and paste that in. So it has the brown color again, just matches the branding. Okay, once again, hit save. The more you make that just a consistent thing that you always do, the better it is. All right, so now we're here and we have the overall styling of the form done and looking good. Now what I want to do is edit any of these fields that came in here automatically, and then of course add in the fields, the custom fields that we created from our Google Doc questions. So first things first, I'm going to click on each one of these fields and I'm going to get rid of the placeholder because we don't want that. So I'm going to click on each one of these and just backspace on the placeholder. And again, email. I just want these nice and clean and open. Now I want to go and add in those extra fields that I created. So if I hit the plus, actually, let me just go back to first name. All of these you're going to want to have as required. So when you click on them, make sure you've selected required because you want them to have to fill this in. You don't want them to leave out their name. That would make no sense. Going over to the plus here. All right, so over here, quick add or any of those, like I said, generic fields that you can pull in at any time. Buttons, phone, email, phone, first name, last name, date of birth, all of that. What we're looking for, however, are those custom fields that we created. So if I go to custom field, all right, so I just refreshed the screen because these weren't populating yet. So I just hit the refresh and now they're here. So you can see under custom fields, under contact, which is what will come up automatically, under coaching name application form, this is where all of those questions are that you added in manually at the beginning. They're in the exact order that you added them in. So if you added more later down the road, they would be towards the bottom. So let's just go ahead and pull each one of these in one by one. So it's, and then you can move them around as well if you decide that you put it in the wrong place or if you dropped it in the wrong spot. But you're just going to drag these in one at a time and you will see that they all populated here. Once we're happy with the way that this looks, a couple other things is you can edit this consent, and I suggest that you do. It just says I consent to receive SMS and email marketing materials. This is from company. I would go ahead and edit that so it actually has your business name. The other thing too is if you are not actually doing any SMS marketing right now, you haven't purchased a phone number through Funnel Breezy or GoHighLevel, you don't really need the SMS notification there because you're not going to be sending them SMSs. You might as well have the least amount of stuff in there if it's not applicable, right? So you can edit this here. And then the other thing to consider as well is where it says privacy policy in terms of service. One, I would ditch the background color. So you can click on the background and then drag this so the background becomes invisible, which is great. And then you can actually click on both of these and you can edit the link to where these actually go. In this case, they just go to example.com. Ideally, you're linking these over to your main website's terms and conditions and privacy policy, which I suggest that everybody has. And if you're using our WordPress websites, you know that we strongly recommend and we give you good recommendations on where to buy each one of those. So you're going to want to edit those so those link over to the appropriate place. And once those are good, you can hit save. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the form itself is complete, right? We have everything that we need to have in there. In terms of sharing it, you have a couple different options. You can go ahead and just copy the form link itself. So if I hit copy form link, and I go to a new browser. You can also just hit this little arrow here, but just so you can see, and I paste that in. The application form is here. The other option is that you could go ahead and copy the embed code and embed that into your actual WordPress website or wherever it is that you want to go ahead and embed this. The only other thing I'm actually realizing that might be a good idea to put in here, if I go to add form element and I go back into the quick add section, you'll notice there's a text area where you can just add text. I'm going to put this in here and I'm going to call this whatever the name of the program is. Let's just say mindset, oops, I can't spell, mindset coaching. Two things I'm going to do very quickly. One, I'm going to remove the background color because again, we do not want that background color. And I'm going to make this much smaller. So let's try 25 right here under size. And then you can obviously change the font if there's a better font. In this case, Chinzel is what I'm using for this brand, so I can add that here. And then lastly, you'll notice it's kind of pulled off the side a little bit, like there's a space here. It doesn't look so great. So I'm going to go and remove the padding on the left. And it brings it right to the left-hand side, which is wonderful. You could also remove it on the right, but in this case, it doesn't impact that at all. So I'm going to hit save. I'm just doing that to make it so that when someone lands on that, they're not forgetting what it is that they're applying for. Okay, so we know how to share the link. We know how to copy the form link. We know how to copy the embed code to paste that on our website. The reason now, just so I can show you, of why we went and created those custom fields in that folder at the very beginning is because now when somebody fills out, we're just going to add this is just a default account, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a quick contact here. When somebody goes and fills that out and they become a contact within the CRM of Funnel Breezy or GoHighLevel, if I scroll down, you'll notice now that there is an entire folder here that says coaching name application form. So the person's main info, the generic fields they filled out, like first name, last name, email, and there would be phone number because you had said that they needed to input the phone number as well, will all show up here, which is great. But then in order for you to quickly and easily find the answers to those other questions that you had, here is where you will find all of them. So at any point in time, if you want to come back and say, what did they answer to that question? How much were they willing to spend? What were their main roadblocks from a mindset perspective in business that they were struggling with? All of those answers that they typed in will all be here, really nice and easy for you to access anytime under their contact or profile. You can have as many of these folders as you might need for different application forms or different forms they might need to fill out when they are maybe onboarding and becoming a new client with you and or filling out an application form. So I hope that helps, one, for you to create that coaching application form, but also two, to be able to keep it organized so you can find all of that information down the road and make it really nice and easy when you do hop on that discovery call with them, that you're able to see exactly what they filled out, exactly what their struggles were. All right, we'll talk to you soon.